Hey, how's it going, all you web developers out there? Welcome to another project. In today's project, just as we did in our last project, we're going to build another component. This time we're going to build actually 4 alert components. Last time we did, as you can see up here, a model component. And just as we did in the last video, again, we're going to use HTML, CSS, and JavaScript to create, style, and make our components function. So let me show you how the project looks. Okay, so this will be the 4 types of alert that we're going to create. Now they will depend always on the type of action that we take. So for a successful message, we're going to have with a check mark a green message. For a info message, we're going to have an exclamation mark, a blue message. For a caution message, we're going to have with another exclamation mark, caution message. And for danger, we're going to have a red message, and so on and so on. Now, special about this message is that we can close them with the X button up here, but also they will disappear after a certain time. But also if we wait a couple of seconds, actually 4, the message will disappear automatically. Okay, now after we have created our messages, that's not all. After we have created our components, we're going to actually use them in a little form validation, and we're going to take a look at the real life scenario. So let me also show you the form right now. So when the page loads, we're going to be greeted with this message to fill out all the fields. Now, as I said, the message will disappear after 4 seconds, or we can just click on the X button and make the message disappear. Now, if we try to submit our form without filling out the fields, we're going to have a alert message is going to tell us we haven't completed all of the fields. So let's take a look again at the alert. The information you have entered is either incorrect or incomplete. So we need to fill out all of the fields. Now we can start by filling out the name, for example, Norbert. Submit the message again. Now we're going to have another type of message that the age field is empty. So for example, if I would take out the name and only fill out the age field, try to submit the form again, it's going to tell us that the name is incomplete. Now let's fill out the name, submit it again. Our email is incomplete, so we have to take care of that one. Let's say norbert@mail.com, submit the form again, and now we have a successful registration, and also all of our fields are now cleared out, as you can see. So I hope you're going to enjoy this project, and if you do, hit that thumbs up button, to get this video going a bit, help that algorithm go. Also, if you're new to the channel, then please consider subscribing because I post videos like this on a weekly basis. And also hit that notification bell in order to get notified whenever I post new content. So with this being said, let's jump into the project. So let's get going with our project, and first things first, we're going to start by creating our HTML, CSS, and JavaScript files and doing some basic setup for our project. So let's go in our folder, create our index.html. Let's get started with the boilerplate. Let's go in here, link up our style.css file. Let's name the project custom alert or alerts. It's actually just one alert, but it's going to be breaked up in more alerts. Then let's link up our script file, which we're going to call alert.js, and there we go. Next up, let's create our style.css file, CSS, and our alert.js file. So let's go back into our HTML file, and within here we're going to create an h1 and I'm going to create a title of custom alert. Now I do want the entire thing to be wrapped up in a container, so let's create a container class. Let's move up our h1 in our container, and within here we're going to create our 4 buttons. Okay, so right after our h1, we're going to create 4 buttons. Now each one of these buttons is going to be for one specific alert. So we're going to have a success, a info, a caution or warning, and a danger button, and each one of them is going to call upon one alert. So let me create here a button tag. You know what? I'm going to create actually 4 button tags. So I'm going to type in button, then .btn, dot again, btn dot success. I'm going to change them later on. And then the title of alert and success. And also I'm going to go back and give it the ID of success. Okay, let's hit enter, and hey, I'm going to go back. Now I'm going to multiply everything by 4, and there we go. We're going to have 4 buttons. So the first one is going to remain as this. The next one, I'm going to select success and just tap through the first free one and replace it with info. Then the next one is going to be caution, and the last one is going to be danger. Now I'm trying to move fast here because the main attraction of this is actually creating them using JavaScript, and also for the styles of the button I'm going to copy everything in and just go through them. I already started my previous video where I created our custom model custom model component. I already styled the button, and you know, if you're following my channel, I hate styling buttons. So let's go into CSS, and as I said, I'm just going to copy in a couple of things. Now I'm going to take them step by step and explain everything. First things first, we're going to take the Roboto font again from Google Fonts. You want to see how I did this? Previous video, everything is in there. Then I'm going to do a general reset. So star, margin 0, padding 0, box size border box. Star means that is the general selector is going to select everything, is going to reset everything. Then we're going to have our font family for the body, which is going to be Roboto, of course. Then the container again, as always, a specific width, margins auto, and text align center. And then let's increase our H1 and give it font size of 5 rem and margin top and bottom of 5 rem. Left and right auto is going to center it. So let me go back to our HTML and also open it up using live server. And there we go. There is our content, which is not being styled because star.css as always. And that should work. Okay, there we go. So let's go back into our CSS and type in here comment btn style. And from here on, we're going to style our buttons. Now, you saw that we have a btn general, btn class. This is exactly like in Bootstrap, and then a type of button. So this is going to be the general style for the button. So I'm just going to copy it in. Basically, each button is going to be displayed as inline block, has a font size of 500, line height of 1.5, a specific color, hexadecimal color, text line to the center, text decoration, none, vertical alignment to the middle, cursor pointer, and so on. So you can read through all of this if you want. First video, I styled them individually. Now for each type of button, for the success button, we're going to have, boom, we're going to, hey, don't need you, a class of btn-success, which is just going to have a background color of this color, and this is going to be the text color, so white. And the same thing for danger, info, and caution. Then when we will click a button, it's going to scale a bit and it's going to take out the box shadow. So box shadow set to none. Basically, when I click on one of the buttons, it's scaling a bit, and the text and the box shadow disappears. Now back to our buttons. When we hover over a button, it should lose a bit of its opacity. So when I hover over it, basically this just signifies that we're over one button. Okay, so that's it for buttons. Now I'm going to actually create, and then I'll just take a look at the next step. So next up, we're going to create our alert and style our alert component. So let's get into it. We're going to move back to index.html, and right after our buttons, I'm going to create our alert component. So we're going to start off with a class of alert. It's going to create a div, this is going to contain, so I'm using Animate here, a alert dash container, which again is going to contain the content of the alert type. So alert content. So this is pretty similar to my model type, but it does have a couple of differences. And the content is going to contain a header and, well, that's it. So it's actually just going to contain a header. So these are all classes, sorry about that. So the alert is going to contain an alert container class, and then this is going to contain the alert content, and the alert content is going to contain the class of alert dash header, and the header is going to contain this time a span tag, and the span tag is going to have the class of alert message. Okay, and after that, we're going to type in plus, because we're going to create another span tag, and this one is going to contain with the class of btn, and it's going to have another class of btn and close, and we're just going to have a x. Okay, so let's hit enter, and let's see, bum 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 bum. This is okay, this is okay. Now for the message, let's say alert message. Okay, so this is just going to be the alert message. So let's see what we created. There we go, we have our alert, and here's the button. Now let's start styling this a bit. So let's move into our CSS again and type in here alert style as a comment, and after that we're going to style our alert. Now it had a general alert class, and this is going to be set as position absolute because I want it to be absolute within the canvas. So position absolute, and also I can then later on pass everything in as a relative position. Now it's going to be positioned to the top as 0, to the left 0, then it's going to be displayed as block. We're going to set the box sizing to border box, and we're going to also set the Z index to, let's say, 1000. So it's going to be over everything, or mostly everything. Okay, we're going to have a height of 100 viewport heights, so it's going to take up the entire height. We're going to set the over and a width of 100% of its container. And now, because it's positioned absolute, its container is actually the entire HTML. So it's going to be 100% of the HTML's width. Okay, width, we have a overflow on the x-axis of hidden, and then overflow on the y-axis of auto, of course. Now we're going to set the outline as 0, and we're going to use an animation. So when this appears, let's say we're going to use an animation. Let's go outside and create a keyframe for this. So keyframe, let's call this fade in again. It's actually the same type of animation that I used for the model, but the bit of difference, so fade in and out. The difference is, so at 0%, open and close curly braces, and then at 100%. So it's going to have two types of animation. Now at 0%, we're going to translate on the y-axis. So it's going to, these are the y-axis, these are the x-axis. So on the y-axis, we're going to bring it in from minus 200 pixels, and then let it have a opacity of 0. I'm just going to copy this, paste it into 100%, and going to place it to its initial position, so 0 pixels, and have an opacity of 1. Now check out if I refresh, well, it doesn't work because I have to call upon the animation name. I have to give it a 0.3 seconds duration and a type of ease, and now it should work. So when I refresh the page, it's going to come in. Okay, perfect. Now let's take care of the alert container. So the next class, alert container. And now we can position this one relative. So position relative is going to have a max width. When I close this up, okay, a max width of, let's say, 500 pixels, is going to have a margin of 1.75, RAM from top and bottom, and auto left and right. Now we're also going to give this a bit of a box shadow. So let's say 0, 5 pixels and 2 pixels. Actually, let's go with 1. I don't want it to have too much of a shadow. And a RGBA of 0. Ooh, not that one. 0.1. So let's take a look at how this looks. Hey, I'm missing something here. Let's do also here 1 pixel. No, don't like it. So let's do 0 and 0 again, and that's much better. Okay, so margin top and bottom, got this out of the way. Now the alert content class is going to have a bit of more styling. So first of all, position relative again. Then we're going to display it as flex. Now, because flex is automatic flexing in a row, we're going to change it to column. And we're going to set the width to 100%. Then we're going to change the pointer event to auto. We're going to set the background color as inherit first of all. So for the general, inherit. Because when we're adding then the next classes, is going to inherit their classes. Then we want a border of 1 pixel solid. And let's just go with the RGBA of 0.1. And of course, a border radius of 0.3 RAM. Okay, now I'm also going to take out the outlines. I don't like them. Outlines 0. Okay, so we got this out of the way. The last thing that we need to consider is the heading, because this button should be here and not in the center or wherever it's positioned right now. So let's grab onto the alert and header. And let me scroll up a bit. Again, we're going to display this as flex. So display flex. We're going to set now the flex shrink to 0. We're going to align the items to the center. And we're going to justify the content with space between. And this will actually space them with space between them and no space left and right. Now let's give it a padding, top and bottom. Let's go with 1 RAM. And actually left and right also 1 RAM. And I think this is okay. Yeah, I like it. Okay, now let's also change the border to the bottom. Do the 1 pixel solid and a hexadecimal of D, E, E, 2, E, and let's go with 6. Okay, now let's change the background color again to inherit. So I want everything to just inherit the background color, whichever I'm going to assign it. So inherit, let's go with a font size of 1.2 RAM and a font weight of 400. So font height, not height, weight. Woo, font height. And I think that's enough. Yeah, that's enough. Okay. Now, as I said, we have 4 types of alert. The first alert is going to be alert success. And we're going to change the background color to hexadecimal of CFF, just 2 Fs, 6E, and 4. Okay, this is just going to be a greenish color. We're going to set the text color, so the color of the text, now to dark color. So let's go with completely dark, so 000. And padding. Now this is interesting. Let me explain this first of all. So here's the text and here's the heading. Now you see we have a padding left and right of 1 and top and bottom of 1. So I want to push this a little bit to the right, because if you take a look in our finished project, you see this symbol right here. I actually inserted this using a before pseudo class. A before. So I'm going to set everything to the left by using padding left of forRem. So I'm going to move. Hey, why didn't this take effect? Oh, because I have to assign it. So let's say that the very first the very first alert is going to be a success alert. Now I'm going to add the class to the content itself. So alert success. Let's take a look. Okay, and now it's taking effect. So now everything is pushed, or the header has a padding to the left of forRem. So let's go back to CSS. And let's insert now only for the success class a before. And this is going to be now interesting. Now, there are a couple of settings. They are typically the same for all of them. For example, font family needs to be from Font Awesome a family, because we're going to use here from Font Awesome a couple of icons. So let's go to Font Awesome. And let's also grab onto the CDN. For the CDN, I'm going to use Font Awesome. Let me show you. So you have to type in cdnjson.com /libraries/font awesome. I'm going to land here. Actually, everything is down in the description below, all of the links. So now I'm going to copy this very first link, go back into HTML and paste it in before our style sheet. Okay, now Font Awesome should work, and let's just test this by adding somewhere. Let's say I'm going to add it in here. Actually, I'm going to add it in here as an icon text. Icon FA. What kind of icon did I have there? Let's say FAB. Let's just choose an icon, whatever icon. Very first icon that pops in is going to be this A. Okay, so this A icon, and copy it, go before the span tag, paste it in, and we should have it now here. Okay, so there's an icon tag. Now this is not how I want this to look. And also we can target each class separately, and each class separately is going to have a icon tag. Now I'm going to take this out. Boom, delete it, go back to CSS, and let's search for the icons that we actually need. So for success, it's just going to be a check mark. So let's search for check. Let's see what we got. We got this one. Okay, let's open this up. And we're not going to use the icon tag itself, but we're going to use something else. You will see here on the left side, copy Unicode. Now I'm going to copy this, paste it, not in here, but I'm going to create content quotes, and between quotes, using the escape key, so backslash, I'm going to copy in the Unicode. Now this would not work because we still need to copy in something, or still need to assign something, a font family of Font Awesome, and also a font weight of 900. Now without this, it will not work, believe me. And there we go, there's our check. Okay, without inserting anything else but the Unicode, we got our icon. Now let's go back to our styling because we're not done yet. We need to position this absolute. Now after we position it absolute, we can play around with it. And we're going to go left 18 pixels. Obviously you can change this then later on. And top 18 pixels, and this with 18 pixels, and this will now push it down here. Now let's also increase its font size, so font size to 2 rem, and let's change its color to a hexadecimal of 0F5132. This is actually a darker green color. Now I obtained this color. Let's go up here. Now I obtained this color from this success color, so background success. But this, it will not be the same color as you can see here, this background color. Now I actually created everything, the entire CSS using sass, and I used darken functions and lighten functions and used variables, so everything was just passed through. Just created one variable for one color and then I passed it through every class. So I created one variable success for info, for caution, and for danger, and I just passed them through different functions and different mixins, and it was much quicker that way. And I'm also going to pay to link the sass files also in the description below. Or if you want me to create a separate video of how I did that, then leave the comment in the comment section below and I will create a separate video on that. It was pretty cool actually. It was really quick and pretty easy, and you can always change it or create more by just creating one more variable. Okay, now what we did here for success color, we need to do for the success alert, we need to do for all other of the alerts. So I'm not going to actually type it out, it would be redundant, or actually just waste a lot of your time. I'm just going to copy in and go over them. Okay, so next up is the alert info color. So info background color, a pretty bluish, but you can see it's up here, blue color. And then the color for the text is going to be this one. And now you can see the font. I need the code. So the code isn't showing because I'm copying this actually in from the generated CSS, but no problem. I do have it here. So this is for info, the Unicode, this one right here. And I'm also going to just change now up. I'm going to change this to info, the class. Let's go here. Okay, we got our info alert. Next up is going to be caution. So let's hit save, and let's also create our caution classes. So alert caution, background color, really bright orange color. Then the color is going to be very dark orange color, which is almost brown. And then the Unicode. Is this working actually? Yes, it's working. Amazing. But I still need to give you the real Unicode. So it's going to be this one, \F071, and then the very last one for danger, the class of danger, alert danger, and before, and the Unicode is going to be, let me just check, going to be this one. I don't know, why isn't this showing? So strange. Nevertheless, let's change this to danger, hit save, and this should be exactly. Okay, so we got all of them. You can see that they're working. Now let's go back to HTML, to our HTML file, and let's comment it out. Boom, and it's gone. Because we don't want to have it here, we want to insert it using JavaScript. So let's move on to JavaScript and let's access the DOM and grab onto our elements. Okay, so let's go into JavaScript, our JavaScript file. And I'm gonna grab onto two things. So const body, and then we're going to go to document, query selector, and to grab onto the body tag. And the next thing that I need are actually all of the buttons. So let's create another const. Let's call it buttons. And I'm going to go to the document again, and this time use query selector all, because we want to grab onto all of the button tags. Okay. Now next time I'm going to next step, I'm going to loop through each of those buttons, loop over them, and for each of the button, I'm going to use a forEach function, and for each of these buttons, a forEach method, and for each of these buttons, I'm going to return the selected buttons by using a if statement, so a conditional if statement. So let's go to the buttons. So buttons, and for each, I'm going to use here a callback function, but I'm going to use an arrow function. It's basically function, so on so on. But I'm not going to type out function, but use a arrow function. So for each button, arrow function, we are going to grab onto that button, and we're going to add an event listener. This event is going to listen for a click, and when this click happens, we're going to call upon another function, another callback function. And now let's just say that if on whatever we pressed on, so on whatever button we pressed on, its ID is success, then we're going to console log that button. So success. You know what? Let's type in here a string of success button and btn. Okay. Now I'm going to continue on with this, and else if our button .id is something else, for example, our next one will be info, then we're going to console log info. Okay, so basically this is the way we're going to test if we're getting our right button. And caution, do the same thing for caution, and we're going to do the same thing for danger. Okay, so let's try this out. Let's open up a console, right click, inspect, go to the console, and let's delete this. So let's click on alert, success. Okay, success button, alert, info, caution, danger. Let's mash it up a bit. Caution, danger, success, caution, success, info, 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 info. Okay, so this is working. So what we should do next up is create a generic alert function or a generic alert component. So let's go ahead and create a function which we're going to call create alert. Now this is going to take in a type of alert. So I'm going to make it so that it's going to take in an argument. Let's just say pass in alert. Now when this function is called upon, this function is going to create an element. So alert, let's call this alert. Let's call this create alert element, and we're going to use document.create element, and we're going to create a alert tag. There are no such things, but we are still going to create one. Okay, now next up we're going to take this alert element, so this create alert element, and going to grab its inner HTML and assign it whatever we pass in here as an argument. Okay, so the passing alert. Now after we're done with this, we're going to grab onto our body, and we're going to append the child that we just created to a body. So created element, we are going to append it to the body. Okay. So instead of having these console logs, I'm going to actually comment them out. You know what? I'm going to leave them in, but also I'm going to use now our function of create alert. So create alert, and I'm going to pass it in to each type of button. So basically when I'm clicking here, you know what? I should also, actually I should console log this. Then you would see that this element would be created, but it's nothing. It's undefined. It has nothing in it. So actually you can already see here that our, should I console log the first one? Yeah, let's just console log. So console log, and I'm actually going to move this function into a console log. And if I click now on success, there we go, undefined. So we created something, but it isn't defined. Now let's define it. I'm going to move this out of the function and leave it in here. Now actually create some HTML. And if you saw my previous video where I created a model, I'm going to use the same method. So let's create a const, and I'm going to use arrow functions again. So alert, I'm going to assign this to an arrow function. And I'm just going to return, using backticks, that alert that we had here. I'm going to copy this and paste it in here and just remove that comment. So let's change it to success. And let's see what happens if I click on this alert success. Well, nothing, because I didn't call upon the function. Sorry about that. So let's go back on create alert. This is waiting for something to be passed in here. As soon as this something is passed in here, it's going to be passed into the inner HTML of this new alert element, and then it's going to be appended to the body. So let's pass this function in here. And now let's try it out. Success, and there we go. Boom. Now why do I have this? Return. That is pretty odd. Because I'm implicitly returning. So if I would take this out, and take this out, this should look like this, and I'm still returning some kind of nonsense. Oh, because I didn't call upon the function. This is a function, alert function. Okay, and now it's working. So now we just created our very first alert. We clicked on a button and we called upon a alert. Now we also need to get rid of it, but yeah, let's do this right now. So we need now a function that will remove our alerts. So let's create a function which we're going to call remove alert. Going to pass in here a const of new alert. So when the alert is created, we obviously have access to that alert that we just created it. So I'm going to grab on from that alert to the alert itself. So I'm going to use query selector and grab on to the alert element that we just created. So alert. Okay. I could show you this by creating a console log alert. And I'm going to use this function as a click event on my close button here. So right after the class, I'm going to say that on click, I'm going to use the remove alert and function. Okay, so let's see what this does. Click on alert, click on the close button, and there we go. We just console logged this alert right here. So if I go in there, you'll see I have it in here. Now, because we have grabbed onto it, we can now remove it by just saying new alert and dot remove from our DOM. So basically, after I created it and click on it, I can remove it. Pretty simple. It's completely removed from the DOM. Now, as I showed you in our finished project, if we create an alert and wait a couple of seconds, it will auto-destruct. It will remove itself. So we can achieve this easily by using a set timeout function, a callback function for set timeout. Now, this is why I put everything into square brackets, because this needs to be returned now, and before it, so this is the create alert, and before it we're going to auto remove alert. And I want this to run as soon as the function runs. So let's see it here as set timeout, and I'm going to use here callback function, an anonymous callback function, and to say const new alert. I'm going to go to the document. So basically the scope, we already had it here in our remove function, but the scope of this const is within this function, so I need to create another one. Okay, so I can basically just copy this and replace it here. And let's also create a condition. So if new alert exists, then we're going to call upon this function. Okay, and this should be executed in 4,000 milliseconds, or basically 4 seconds. Now let's see if this works. So I'm going to go back to our project, click on it, wait 1, 2, 3, 4, and it's gone. Boom. Okay, so it worked. Now let's see what happens if I comment out this const. Create alert, and nothing happens. So it does not have access to the const that is to this new alert that is within this function, although after 4 seconds it wishes to call upon the function, but it's missing the alert. It doesn't have the element until that time comes. Okay, so we're done with this part. Next up, we're going to create our different types of alerts, because I hard-coded this alert success in here and I don't want to have it. What I actually want to do is, depending upon certain conditions, different types of alerts will appear, and also different types of messages. Okay, so this is pretty easy. We're actually going to create a alert object, let's just call it. Now this object is going to contain all of the types of alerts. So let's create a const with alert types. I'll just call it alert type. And as I said, we're going to create an object, and this object is going to have multiple objects. So first one is going to be success, the first type. And this is going to have a couple of properties, a couple of key value pairs as properties of class. And it's going to be our alert success class. And then we're going to have our message according to it. And I'm going to copy this in and just say, because the success message, your registration was successful. Okay, now we need to do the same thing for the other ones. So I'm just going to start copying them in. For info, we're going to have another object with the key value pair of class, alert info, message, you need to find blah, blah, blah. And the same thing for caution. Oops, I'm missing here. Okay, and also the same thing for danger. So basically danger, alert danger, the class of alert danger, and when it's according message. Now, how can we use this actually? Well, because this right here are backticks, we can use interpolation and actually call upon our object. Now we do not call upon an object here, but we're going to pass in as arguments in the function, in the alert. When this alert is created, we're going to pass in two things. We're going to pass in the alert class and the alert message. Okay, now the alert class is going to be here, so we're going to use $, and between curly brackets alert class, and the message is going to be, well, instead of the message, so again $, ooh, and no, not you, but alert message. Okay, so whatever class is going to be passed in this function of alert, so this function create alert is going to create alert, and it's going to look for what kind of alert it should create. Now remember, when I press on the button with the class with the ID of success, it's going to do something specific, and this something specific should be that is going to go to the object of alert type, you can see here, and now I have a couple of choices. So I'm going to take the property of success, and from the property of success I'm going to pass in, so this is the very first parameter, remember, the alert class that we're passing in. So I'm going to use alert class, so alert type, success, and from it its class. Now comma, alert type again, select the object, select the property of success again, and from it we're going to select the message. Okay, so let's see what happens if we click on alert success. Yay! We're going to create the alert success using the class, and we're also going to get our message. So we're going to do the same thing for the other ones. Basically, I'm going to copy this, paste this in here, and let's replace success with info. Again, here, and replace, success, info, then caution, and then let's copy this again. The very last one will be danger. Select both of them in danger. So let's see if this works. Success, let's wait 4 seconds, and it's gone. Info, recording message, and the recording icon, really important. Alert caution, icon, caution, and alert danger. Boom, everything works. Isn't this nice? No, close it up. Okay, so we got our alerts up and going. Now let's get to part 2 of this video. Let's actually use them in a real life scenario where we're going to get alerts when we're, for example, registering somewhere. So let's create a registration form in, let's create a submission form, HTML, and then style it, and then so far and so on. So first of all, let's create it. I'm going to comment out our buttons, and still remaining within the container. Wait, something ain't right here. We have a div too many. I don't know from where you're coming from, but I think you're coming from here. Yep. Let's comment this out. Let me take a look. So, yep. And this means, let me check my JavaScript, that you are this one, you are this. So this is, uh-oh, I think I'm missing the closing tag here. Yeah. Astonishingly, they were still working. So you, and you. Okay, perfect. Yay. Now, let's continue on and create our form. So let's remain within our container, and let's create a form. So I'm going to go quickly over this. So we're going to create a form tag. Is going to include couple of labels and inputs. So label plus input tag. I'm going to wrap both of them in a parenthesis, multiply them by 3, and then we're going to have plus a button. And this button is going to have a type of submit, then a class of btn and btn info, and with the text of submit. And let's hit enter. Let's see if I've done everything correctly. btn yo. At least this one is correct. Label input. Okay. So the first one is going to be label, is going to be name. Then the input tag is going to be text, but it's going to also have the ID of name and a placeholder of enter your name. Okay, and we're going to go through each and every one of them and do the same thing. So let me speed up the process by copying everything. Sorry about that, but if I lose much time on this, then my energy is going down. It's pretty late, and I also have to go to sleep and get up in the morning and do the next one. Next project. Okay, so let's see. We have everything here. Now let's also style it. Let's go to our CSS. And the form is going to be pretty simple. So form style. Let's go ahead and select the form tag. Let's give it margins, auto, a width of 500 pixels, display flex, of course. We're going to flex direction column, justify the content center. What are you doing? Justify self, justify the content center. Let's move down and also align now the items to flex start, so everything is going to be pushed to the left side. Now you can see this is a bit small, and why is our h1 commented out? So don't want this. No, I did this, only the buttons. Okay, there we go, there's a form. Now let's go back to CSS. Let's say that within the form, the labels, so all of the label tags are going to have a margin to the bottom of 0.5 rem. Then the form input tags, input, are going to have a width of 100% because I want them to span through the entire width of their container, which is actually the form. Let's give them a margin from the top and bottom of 5 rem and 0, or let's say, yeah, 0. Let's give them 0 then, left and right. Let's also give them a padding, a all-around padding of 0.3 rem. Then I'm going to take out the borders. I don't like borders, so borders none. They're basically borderless now. But what I'm going to add is a border to the bottom. So border bottom with 1 pixel, solid, and let's just do a bluish color. Hexadecimal 084298. Okay, and also outline none. So basically, when I'm clicking in them, they should have no outline. But we're not done yet. I'm going to copy this again. So when I'm focusing, so focus in an input tag, then I want its border to the bottom to change to 1 pixel, solid, and a red color. Boom. Okay. And the last thing, let's actually spread our submit button over the entire width. So form button, I'm going to do a width of 100% and also a margin to the top of 2 rems. So I'm going to push the button a bit further down. Okay, so there's a form, it's finished. If I click in there, the margin to the bottom is going to transform to red. And now let's start validating it. Now, first things first, we need to get access to the form inputs. So we're going to grab onto the form. Let's go underneath our object. Let's grab onto the form itself by saying const form, assigning to a const variable form document quiz selector document dot add event listener. I'm going to listen to a submit. So when we're submitting our form, then we're going to grab onto that event of submit, and this is very important. Forms wish to submit, so we're going to prevent them from submitting automatically by using the prevent default behavior, which is actually a built-in function, so the form will no longer be able to submit. So basically, as you saw, when I clicked on submit, it was trying to submit, but now if I click on submit, the page was refreshing. Actually, I can still show you this. If I comment this part out, then the form submits. You can see that refreshed right here. If I comment this back in, the form will no longer submit. Okay, now let's grab onto all of its input tags. So we're going to do this by creating a const. I'm going to assign them to a form inputs variable. So document quiz selector all, because we want all of our inputs. We're going to select from the form, so quotations, from the form, all of the input tags. Let me scroll up a bit. Now, I'm also going to grab onto the rest of the input tags by grabbing onto the input name, input age, and input email separately. So const input name. Let's go to the document quiz selector. I'm going to select get element by ID, whatever you wish to use. I'm going to grab the input with the ID input with the ID of name. I'm going to copy this 2 more times and replace this name with age, and the last one should be email. Okay, so basically I should have access to all of them now, but I don't want to grab onto the input itself, but whatever the value is. So I'm going to click through them using option and dot value. So this will basically give me the value, whatever I input whatever I input into the input tag. And basically, if you saw any of my where is the value? I'm missing a U here. There we go. So if you saw any of my previous videos, when I validate forms, this is pretty much the same. Okay, now let's create a couple of conditions. If something, then something. So basically, we're going to check value and type of the input. So the very first check that we're going to do is if the input, what am I doing? Input name is empty. So we're going to check if something is in there, or the input, or and, sorry about that, and the input age is empty, and the input email is also empty. Sorry about that. So we're checking if the value and the type are empty, then we have a problem, and we're going to create or launch a danger alert. So let's go up here and grab onto our create alert, and it's going to create an alert of type of danger with the class of danger and the message of danger. So let's put this in here. Okay, so this is pretty easy. And else, if everything is okay, then else a alert of success. Okay, so let's check this out. Submit, and we have a problem because all of the fields are empty. So if I type something in our fields, and okay, this is an email, add something, or hash, then the verification goes through and your registration was successful. So if nothing's in there, then it's going to have an alert of danger. And if our registration is successful, so all of the conditions are met, then we're going to have our successful alert. So your registration was successful. Now, that's not all. We still need to check if, this is a perfect example, if the name is inputted correctly, if the age is inputted correctly, and if the email is input correctly. So we can do this by going down here and typing in a couple of else ifs. So else if, you could also use switch statements here. So let's say that else if the input name is only empty, then something should happen. And that something should be that the alert type of caution should appear. So let's say that we have something in here. Let's say that we have something for our email, submit, and we have caution. This field is not correct. Now, which field is not correct? The name field is not correct. So how can we specify that the name field is not correct? By telling it through a message. Now, because this is an object, we can add properties to an object. And this is pretty simple. So else if input.name or input name is empty, then we're going to grab onto the alert type. So first of all, we're going to grab onto the alert type dot message, actually not dot caution dot message, and we're going to replace the initial message by assigning it a new message, and that message will be that the name field is empty. So now if I have this field filled out, but the name field is not filled out, then name field is empty or incorrect. Okay, so basically we're going to do the same thing for our age and our email, and we're just going to have different types of messages. So if the age is empty, the age input, then we're going to have this message, age field is empty or incorrect. And if the email is empty, then we're going to have this field. So let's see if this works. So I'm just going to let's see, name, let's type in something for a name, and now I should get age because it's going to go downwards. So if we have age, we're going to get email. Okay, so basically this is checking what condition is not met, and if all of the conditions are met, so none of the conditions here throw a specific error, then we're going to have our success message. Now we're still not done yet, because if you saw this, if let's say this is also correct, submit and close it up, and our fields are not empty, so let's also empty our fields. After else message, we're going to say that form inputs dot forEach input, we're going to use a callback function. We're going to select each input, and we're going to grab onto the input and to its value and assign it a empty string. Okay, so let's complete this again. Let's say Norbert 35, Norbert at something.com, And let's submit, and there we go, they're all empty and we have our success message. And with this being said, we are successful. So hope you enjoyed the project. If you did, thumbs up. If you didn't, thumbs down. If you're not subscribed to the channel, then please do so, because I post new videos like this on a regular basis. Also, click that notification bell in order to get notified when there's a new video. And yeah, leave a comment if you have any kind of questions or suggestions for next videos, for future videos. With this being said, thank you very much for watching. Catch you next time. Bye-bye.